Hi, this is Natalie Hoffman of FlyingFreeNow.com, and you're listening to the Flying Free Podcast, a support resource for women of faith looking for hope and healing from hidden emotional and spiritual abuse. Hey, welcome to episode 44 of the Flying Free Podcast. And today I have a guest with me. Her name is Rachel Harden. And we're laughing because this is actually Rachel Witten, but she is no longer Rachel Witten. Her name is now Rachel Harden. So tell us why your name is Rachel Harden all of a sudden.
Well, I got married 2 weeks ago. So it was a wonderful day. We had a lovely honeymoon, and we're getting settled into life as it actually should be when you get married. Happiness and peace and support for each other. And I can tell you, it is amazing. Not to say it's not hard, but it is amazing. I love it. I'm so grateful.
What is the most just crazy awesome thing about it compared to what you experienced in your prior marriage?
So one of the things I've been recognizing about my relationship with my husband now is that he's just there with me. And I've talked about this before, I think, on this podcast, but it is such an amazing thing. And it is so different because in my previous marriage, I was alone. I was abandoned every single day. I never shared about my day. I couldn't because there was going to be criticism or blame or some sneering remark or some sort of scorn. And so I just sort of shut down. And when I did go to him for support, it just didn't exist. But what I'm finding now is I can actually feel my feelings, which is key for being human. So what I've done most of my life is just numb out, like distract myself, try not to feel my feelings, tell myself that feelings don't matter. That's what my ex-husband used to say all the time. Feelings don't matter. But now I can actually work through them. Like there was some hard stuff at my work this week. I shed a few tears. And then the next day I was okay because I actually allowed myself to grieve whatever was going on. And then I have the perspective, the benefit of perspective after that. And it's okay. So it's a true partnership. And I just am so thankful. And it's like, I can't even begin to describe how it just makes for such an amazing quality of life when you have someone with you moment by moment. And you can always depend on them no matter what. So I am just over the moon. And that's true romance. That is true romance. When someone, it's not just like you're swept up in, the romance of feelings. It's just being together.
Yes.
Is what romance is.
Yes.
So I am so thankful.
Oh, I am so happy for you. That is, You're right. That is exactly the way it's supposed to be. That is how God designed relationships and especially marriage to be.
Yes, absolutely. It's intimacy. It's valuing what the other partner values and being with them, whatever is going on, even if they made a mistake or could have done something better, just being with them no matter what. So,
well, so I'm so happy that you have this experience. You and myself, I've experienced this, and there's many other women that we know that are friends of ours and that are also, moving into new relationships or are already remarried. We just spent a weekend a few weeks ago. That was our last podcast, and there were several women in there that were remarried or getting married.
Yeah.
And it blows me away when on Twitter this week, I posted this thing about that John Piper had said about how, wives who are being abused just need to live with it for a season and then get help from their church. And I just had made the comment that, I did that. I lived with it for a season of 25 years.
Yeah.
And then I got help from the church and then they excommunicated me. So that really worked well. But God, on the other hand, unlike John Piper, God in the Old Testament he had this law that said that if a man was to put away his wife, he had to give her a certificate of divorce. And that certificate was her ticket into a better, into a relationship. Well, hopefully it was better, into a relationship with another man. She could get remarried then and be taken care of, and
it was for her benefit.
Yes, exactly. So I love seeing God's provision for his daughters in this respect of being remarried. Okay, so what we're going to do today, though, is talk about the holidays. The holidays are upon us, and holidays for women who are living in destructive relationships can be really, really difficult. A lot of times the drama that surrounds a family in which there is a dysfunctional person creating that drama can be really traumatizing, especially like on birthdays or holidays or other special events. But on the other hand, or in addition to that, I should say, if a woman does decide to get separated, then that poses a whole new set of agony and pain, because all of the traditions get thrown out the window. The family is fractured. And then if she's divorced, same thing. You and I are divorced. We have children, but we share custody of our children. So now holidays we don't even get to see our kids on some of the holidays. Mm-hmm. And so there are just, I don't know, the last several years have been extremely painful for me, although the last year and this year has been much, much better. But, and we were talking before we got on the air here, and you were talking about how it's been difficult for you as well. So I thought maybe we'd talk about our experience of holidays before we were separated and divorced, our experience now, and kind of how we made that transition and how we're making the best of a situation that is probably not ideal. So why don't you start? Tell me what were some of your traditions or beautiful things that you did during holidays, and maybe how did your husband sort of sabotage things?
Well, I don't know. I think just from my own childhood, the holidays are a little bit hard for me anyway, because there's, it all comes down to expectations. The culture puts on us a lot of, just sort of dreamy ideas about things and the way things should be. And we all know life's not really like that all the time. In fact, hardly ever. But so my ex-husband and I's relationship, we were very much enmeshed with his family. He and his mom, his mom basically was very much involved in our lives. And so we always went over to his parents' house, always. And there was always lots of presents. And it was what I knew. I went over, that was like our tradition for 14 years, basically. And it was everything that our son knew as well, because we would open up presents at our house and then almost immediately leave to go to his parents' house. So it was different the first year. It was really sad because, my family is spread out everywhere, and there's difficulties there as well. Different kinds of difficulties, but and we're not really big gift givers. And that's always been a struggle for me as well, is like not, wanting to do the right thing with gifts, but also not wanting to go overboard, but also not wanting to do too little. And that creates a lot of anxiety in me as well. Cause I feel like whatever I do is never enough. And that's like sort of the thing I struggle with in my regular life too. And it's funny while I'm talking about that, because I had the same feeling come up when I was organizing my wedding. I felt like what I was doing was not enough. Like the reception, people were going to be annoyed because the reception food wasn't enough, or, the decorations weren't nice enough, or something like that. Was totally false. And it's actually false about Christmas every year, except that I still struggle with that feeling of anxiety every year as well.
Yeah.
So we would always go over there, and it was fine. Again, tons of gifts. Their family is really big into stuff. And I was always trying to gear us more towards experiences, but I could never, like, it was just always, they're just really focused on stuff. Mm-hmm. So, the first year that, we were separated, I ended up, I was able to book a flight for my son and I to go out to Seattle to visit my sister and her family. And that was really, really good. And so, I'm really grateful, because that would have been very lonely, at home. And he and I ended up leaving on Christmas morning, because I couldn't take him before, because he had to be with my ex-husband's family on Christmas Eve. And that's such a struggle too, as you sort of referenced, is the custody issue. Because I would love to have taken him, much longer, but you have to work within those parameters. Right. And this year, we probably won't be able to do that, because my ex-husband has him on Christmas morning. So I don't know what we're going to do, but it is a little different too, because it just got remarried as well. But, so that was really good. And we were able to do that 2 years in a row, where we left on Christmas, morning. And actually, this past Christmas was the first time that, him and my now husband were together for any length of time, because, my husband drove us to the airport. That was really tough. My son did not want to be in the same car as him. And he was having all these issues. And I kept being very insistent that, no, this is how we were getting to the airport. It was going to be fine. And actually what ended up happening was it went great. And that was the start of me being able to integrate the two of them together, and the start of, just them spending time together. Whereas before it had been completely separate. I had always kept them completely separate, and now, 11 months later, we're married. So it's amazing what can happen. Yes. And I'm so grateful, because Natalie, you encouraged me to just push forward. And I'm always so afraid of rejection, especially from my son. And that's, understandable, but you can't just live in fear. And so I did it in a respectful way of my son's feelings, but I was also firm that no, this was the plan, and he was going to drive us to the airport. And I'm so grateful I did, because it started good things.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think I've found that kids, they struggle. You don't always know how deeply they struggle. They do, yeah. But they are resilient, and they do bounce back. And if there is warmth and love and support and empathy for what they're going through, I think all of us can go through just about anything if we've got relationship.
Yes, exactly. And that's where it's like, we should never just assume that our kids will be fine and they're resilient, and that means we don't have to do anything. We don't have to support them, because that's not true.
Right.
It has to be done in relationship, and with understanding. And you're exactly right. If you've got the support you need in your life, you can weather anything.
Yeah. We're in this together. I've seen that. I've seen moms who have really, really tight relationships with their kids, and they just kind of band together. I think Lenny Bancroft talks about that too in his book, When Dad Hurts Mom. He talks about how, you can really have make it like a team. Like, we are going to get through this together. We're going to make some brand new, really neat memories together. And with that attitude, I think it really helps kids to just to have more hope and more healing, I think, rather than just thinking, oh, the whole world's falling apart, it's never going to be the same again. So, I mean, so let me say that with a caveat, there is grief work to do in the holidays, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're grieving, especially kids, they're grieving, well, all of us, we're all
right
inside, right?
Yeah.
So my situation was that my family, Christmas was a big deal in my family. And we made the rounds to all my grandparents' homes and my great grandma's home. And we definitely had set traditions every year. and nobody ever died and everyone was fine. And then I got married and my mom hosted Christmas Day every single year for all of our entire marriage, with my former husband, and with my sisters and their husbands and all of their kids, and the cousins all played together. And it wasn't all peachy. There was a lot of undercurrent of craziness going on.
For sure. Yeah.
Just family dynamics. But still, for my kids, there was that magic. And we had Christmas Eve traditions that we did every single year and Christmas Day traditions. So when I separated from my husband the first year that we were separated, all of that, it was gloomy. I don't really even remember much about that Christmas other than I cried all the time. I was crying all the time. Yeah. Like the whole month of December. So I went through these motions of decorating and playing Christmas music, but I felt just totally numb.
Yeah.
And I was still hoping that my husband and I could get together, but I wasn't seeing any effort on his part. And I was just grieving. I was starting to realize this man doesn't care at all. Like he just does not care. Yeah. And it was absolutely devastating to me. So the following Christmas, it was pretty much the same. Well, not only that, but also my church had just completely abandoned me. So, the following Christmas was not that much better. I was still just separated. I hadn't decided to file for divorce yet. It was maybe, on a scale of 1 to 10, the first Christmas was a 1. This was maybe a 2. And and then the following year I filed for divorce. And then by the following Christmas, I had actually started building a friendship with Tom. I was in the middle of a divorce, and Tom, my current husband, and I had become good friends. We met several months after I filed for divorce and started building a friendship. And Tom and I grew up together. We didn't really know each other that much. I don't think I've ever told I don't know how much of the story I've told here, but anyway, my kids actually, let's see, they didn't know Tom yet because I hadn't introduced them to Tom, but I was happier, so because I was happier and I felt more supported and I felt like somebody cared, I was actually able to be a better parent because I wasn't so drowning in my beer.
Yeah, you were, there was a little bit of light there.
There's light at the end of the hope. So I was able to make Christmas happier and I was happier. And then the following Christmas, by that time I was already divorced and Tom and I were remarried. Remarried.
You got married. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the happiest Christmas. Although my kids spent Christmas Day with their dad, and they spent Christmas Eve with us. But then on Christmas Day, Tom and I celebrated with his parents, and it was just really special. So, it all over the years, it's just gotten different and better. And my dad also died. Unfortunately, he died 1.5 years ago. So last Christmas was the first Christmas without him. And my mom is no longer hosting Christmas at her home. And in fact, my family of origin has completely splintered now. So I'm not in contact with anybody in my family of origin anymore through a series of very, really sad and disappointing and sort of not surprising circumstances. So Christmas is very different. Like my entire Christmas, all those traditions, they are completely out the window. And we have ushered in brand new traditions and now they kind of feel like there are traditions. It's amazing how you get 2 years under your belt and you've got a tradition.
That's amazing. Yeah. It builds up so quickly, which is wonderful news.
It is. And the little kids don't remember anything of the old
stuff.
They don't
that's
remember
true.
any of it. They only remember what we do now. The older kids remember the other stuff, but some of them didn't really like some of the other stuff anyway. So they were kind of glad to actually not have to do some of those other things. So it's actually worked out. But I guess what I am hoping that we can communicate through this podcast episode is that if you are struggling and you're grieving, that you can and you should. I think you should cry all season.
Please do that. Yes. And it's okay.
Yes.
It's good.
And ugly cry. And because here's the thing, your tears are actually very healing and they help you process through the pain. And that's part of grieving. For all of you who have lost a loved one, the first Christmas after you lose a loved one is horrible. And all you can think about is the empty spot where that person sat. This is no different. This is no different. You have lost a person. If you're separated or you're divorced, you've lost a person. You may have lost a family. You may have lost friends. You may have lost a church. Or maybe you're in a position where you're still married. You're still living with your husband, but you're thinking about leaving and you're anticipating how horrible it's going to be during the holidays.
Yeah. Which can be just as bad. I mean, the anticipation, the dread is just as bad.
Like, what's next Christmas going to look like? Or maybe you're still with your partner and you're not thinking of leaving, but you're just enduring another season of dysfunction. And the whole family's maybe it's not just your partner that's a problem, but maybe you've got a dysfunctional father-in-law or a dysfunctional mother or a crazy uncle or sibling that, is just really covert abusive to everyone or controlling and, whatever, complaining and critical and whining about everything. So if that's the case, then holidays are not fun. And that's probably another conversation for another time, like just setting boundaries. Because a lot of people wonder, well, is it okay if I just don't get together with these people? I mean, they're my blood relatives and I feel like I should. And it's actually okay not to, but that's not really the subject for today, but maybe that's something we should talk about. How do you set boundaries during the holidays?
That would be really helpful. One other thing though, that you have to grieve, is your dreams. And I talk a lot about how I lived on dreams. I lived on hope for the future. Yes. And that was such a big part of just letting go of that marriage, was that I had to realize it is never going to be like that. He is never going to be the person that I thought he was or could be. And we are never going to be the happy family that I dreamed of being and worked towards being every day. So the dreams are really big, and that's just super painful because reality is so harsh, especially if you've been living in a numbed out state where you're just sort of going through the motions and trying to keep the pain at bay. Like, just let it in, just feel it.
Yeah.
And if you can't do it all the time, just for a little bit, and whatever can keep, you need to keep yourself safe and healthy as much as possible. And so don't let yourself just, go completely, feel like you've got to be aware and present all the time, but just start little bit by little bit, like stick a toe in, like my therapist said.
Yes. I love that. So before we go though, let's just I'd like to throw out some ideas of things that we've done while we've been in this transition phase of going from one family and one marriage to the family and the marriage looking completely different. I'll share one and you can share one, and you want to just kind of go back and forth like that?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. So let's see. Well, actually, this is a brand new idea that I want to do. I just got this idea from my hairdresser. She said that one of the traditions, and I'm going to do this. She said one of the traditions that they do with their kids is they go to a Caribou or Starbucks and get hot chocolate, like their special hot chocolate for their kids.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And then they go look at Christmas lights.
Oh, that's awesome.
They bring some snacks, caramel popcorn or whatever in the car, and they drink hot chocolate and eat snacks and look at Christmas lights. And I guess you can look in the paper and find, neighborhoods that have I don't know. I've never done it, but we're going to try that this year. And that's going to be a new tradition. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and related to that, in our town, in Minneapolis, they used to have this, the Dayton's building used to have an amazing Christmas display every year. And we used to, so when I was married to my former husband, we would always take our kids to that and walk through it. And then there's this Holly Dazzle parade we would watch with all these lights. And that was a tradition that we no longer have. We no longer have it, but we also no longer do it. But it's something that I had to let go of. So we let go of that tradition, but instead we're going to try this hot chocolate looking at Christmas lights thing.
I love that. I actually wrote that down. I want to implement that for this year, a new tradition. So one of the things that, as I mentioned, was that I was able to take my son out to see my sister 2 years in a row. And that was really healing and special because it replaced the void of what we had done with something exciting and new, because we'd never been able to travel on Christmas. And so I think that the principle there is, don't be afraid to start, like to spend it with new people. And it's maybe a little difficult to make arrangements or whatever, but filling the void when you can with other people who are healthy is really obvious, but it's really healing. And being surrounded by people that you love, even if it's not your family, maybe if it's your friends, and asking, to join them, or even inviting them for Christmas dinner or whatever it is, just being with people who are truly there and truly love you, I think is really, really important if possible. I hope that's not naive advice, because I know that's not a lot possible for a lot of women, and they probably already know that, but that was really helpful for me.
Yes. Well, and related to that is just, I know one thing that we've been able to do now that we're not getting together with my family is that we've been able to have people over that don't have a family to go to.
Yeah.
So maybe not going away, but just having other people in. And
hosting.
That's different. One of our traditions used to be with my family of origin, and we'd get all of the kids together and we'd do a cookie bake every year.
Oh, fun.
And we would decorate sugar cookies. So we don't do that anymore, obviously, because I'm no longer in contact with them. But what we've done the past few years since I've been separated, I think this will be our 5th year now, is I get these gingerbread house. They're already built, so you don't have to build them. You just decorate them, which the kids love that anyways. They just love to decorate. But they have pre-built ones at Costco that are I think they're only $10. And so we buy a bunch of those for each kid. I've got lots of kids. And we play Christmas music and we decorate gingerbread houses.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down too. I want to do that as well.
You can also get those at Target. You can get cool ones at Target. And if you want to build your own, you can. It's just messier. You could probably only do that with older kids. We used to do that with my family of origin, and my mom kind of hosted the whole thing, she didn't host, but she would bring all the stuff. And it was kind of a pain in the neck with the little kids because they just didn't know how to make the walls stick together, and they would get frustrated. And the older kids had fun, but this way, it's super easy. It's really easy cleanup, and they really have a lot of fun. So
do the kits come with the candy, or do you have to buy that separate?
No, the kits come with everything: the frosting, the candy. They come with everything. You don't need to buy anything. The Costco ones are the cheapest and also the most detailed and nicest by far, and biggest. Yeah. Hands down, Costco has got the best option. Another thing that we've always done is we decorate. We've always decorated for Christmas the day after Thanksgiving, and we'll play Christmas carols and just decorate the house. But like, for example, this year, I'm going away. My ex-husband, their dad has the kids the day after Thanksgiving. So you know what we're doing? We're going to decorate on Thanksgiving, because why not?
Oh yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I'm getting a Thanksgiving meal from Hy-Vee. I'm not even going to cook Thanksgiving dinner. I'm getting everything from Hy-Vee. I'm going to go pick it up. we're gonna heat it up, we're gonna eat it, and we're gonna spend the day decorating, and we're also gonna do our gingerbread cookie houses that day. So it's gonna be a really fun day. And I don't care if it's not what we've done in the past. We're gonna have an amazing Thanksgiving Day.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful. You're giving me all sorts of ideas because, I mean, to be honest, this is still something that I'm working through. And obviously this is going to be the first Christmas that I'm remarried and everything. So, this is really good ideas. Makes me excited.
Well, here's another idea for you too, then. Does your son have friends that he likes to hang out with? Do you know them very well, or?
I do, some of them. Yeah. He's in high school now. So I think there's some that he is good friends with that he just sees at school.
Right.
I'm not really familiar with, but there's others that he's known since kindergarten. So.
Well, and he's a guy, he probably wouldn't like this. Some of my girls, so I've got a lot of girls, and I also have a lot of boys, I guess, but
you've got a lot of kids in general.
I do. My younger girls, when my kids were little, we would do a caroling party and just have the neighborhood kids. But I've debated about doing another caroling party too. And that's really easy to do also. You just but I don't know if your son would be into that. But.
So here's one of the things, just an aside. One of my favorite things in the world is worship music. I listen to it all the time. My ex-husband hated worship music. And unfortunately, he has tainted my son on a lot of music and singing in general. Aww. So that's something we work through. But, it probably wouldn't be the best, most successful thing I've ever tried.
No. And no, I have a son in high school. Well, he's a senior in high school, but he would rather slit his throat than do a Christmas caroling party. So,
I'm sure your girls love it. And that's what's wonderful about having a lot of kids.
Love it. Yeah. And they've got lots of friends. So I can see, I've thought about just having them all over for, for like pizza, and then go Christmas caroling, and then come back and have hot chocolate.
That's a lovely idea.
So anyway, do you have any other things that you've had to change that have been?
One of the things that is really, I know this is sort of funny. My ex-husband always had to have a real tree, which I know people have different opinions on this. There's no right or wrong, but
and strong opinions too.
Yes, they really do. I grew up with a fake tree, and so I'm okay with it. And so now it is so easy just to go down to the basement and get the tree.
Isn't it wonderful?
So much easier. Yes. And no, it doesn't have the beautiful smell. But that's what's sort of nice about having, not having that presence there that's overtaking everything, like narcissists do. You just get to personalize it and make decisions that are going to work for you and how you are right now, instead of trying to jam something in that doesn't feel right. But not to say that having a real Christmas tree is wrong or anything. And I sometimes enjoyed going to pick it out, but it's just so silly. So his family always had firs, and I like pines. So like they would always criticize how I would like get the pines, and it was just so stupid. Anyway,
I have a real Christmas tree story, and then we'll close. Okay. But when I was married to my former husband, he loved real Christmas trees as well. But, so we did that at first, but how we got out of it was one year we got a real tree, and we went away. It was a very weird season weather-wise, and we didn't know this at the time, but we went away to visit grandparents, and then we came back. So we were gone for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days. We came back, and there had been, our tree had been infested with spider eggs.
Oh my gosh.
So they all hatched while we were gone.
Oh no.
And so there were millions. I mean, I swear there were millions of spiders. Most of them were dead underneath the tree when we got home. But of course, some of them were older than others and bigger than others. And they were all over our house. Yeah. That was the last year we got a real tree.
I am absolutely horrified.
Yeah. So I guess that year it was a thing. It was a thing. A lot of people had the same problem that year. From this one particular farm. But anyway, so that's my Christmas tree story. I think we're gonna close now. But
Yeah.
thank you for joining me for this episode. I'm so glad to have you back.
Thank you.
This episode of the Flying Free podcast is sponsored by the private Flying Free education and support community, which offers courses, workshops, live coaching, and more for women of faith seeking hope and healing from emotionally and spiritually abusive relationships and communities. Find out more at joinflyingfree.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, fly free.